Uttar Pradesh, for sparing time to join this inaugural function of our counseling and guidance cell and a webinar on mental health care and support perspective of NEP 2020. I would also like to thank our registrar sir who has been very cooperative to us, Dean Rs, Professor P.K. Shukla sir, Dean Counseling and Placement Cell, Sanjay Midhavi sir, Dean Students Welfare, Poonam Tandon ma'am, Dean Recruitment, Manuka Khanda ma'am, Proctor sir, Dinesh Kumar ji, Professor Dinesh Kumar ji, Durgesh Srivastava, madam, and all other esteemed faculties from different departments who joined this webinar. Today is a very auspicious day, and we had just celebrated Navratri to honor Goddess Durga, the embodiment of divine forces, positive energy, and Shakti. From Navratri, the season of festival starts. Today is not less than a festival for us when we are going to get our newly formed counseling and guidance cell inaugurated at the hands of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Archana Shukla ma'am and Mr. Alok Ranjan sir, former Chief Secretary Uttar Pradesh. And accordingly, now I will all pray that Goddess Saraswati may grant us courage to spread the dignity of our university, not only in the state, but all over the country and abroad also. So now I would request Pragya to please play the prayer for Goddess Saraswati. Thank you, Pragya, for praying. And माँ सरस्वती से वंदना है कि वे हमें इतनी शक्ति दें कि लखनऊ विश्वविद्यालय की ख्याति न केवल हमारे देश में बल्कि विदेशों में भी फैले, हमारे परिसर में ऊर्जा, सकारात्मकता, शक्ति एवं संपन्नता का संचार हो. Now, brief little about our counseling and guidance cell. This cell is the initiative of our youngest and dynamic Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Kumar Rai sir, who has been continuously taking all steps to add new feathers to our university. And with his dynamic and innovative initiatives, it is touching new heights on day-to-day basis. On one hand, he himself is so devoted, committed, and hardworking. Other way, he also keeps on motivating, inspiring, and challenging us for new initiatives. With the guidance of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, we have created an outline of our counseling and guidance cell. And the vision of this cell is to accelerate the transition from old education policy to new education policy 2020, which aims at creating world-class multidisciplinary institutes. The mission of this cell is to support, value, and challenge the students of University of Lucknow to develop their full potential, psychological immunity, and skills to thrive in the challenging situations of life. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Alok Kumar Rai, sir, has always inspired Department of Psychology to provide counseling services to not only students of university, but outside university as well. Teachers of our department are committed to provide counseling services for the benefits of students of University of Lucknow. Team Counseling and Guidance Cell consists of Deputy Director, Psychotherapy and Counseling Cell, Dr. Lalit Kumar Singh, Clinical Psychologist from Department of Psychology, and Deputy Director, Career Guidance and Skill Building Cell, Dr. Vishali Saxena from Department of Public Administration, University of Lucknow, and also coordinators from different faculties of arts, science, commerce, management, law, institutes of management studies, tourism studies, etc. And the approval of our coordinator is still given to Vice Chancellor sir, and after his approval, will expand the team. And I'm extremely happy and honored that this cell is being inaugurated today at the hands of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, our keynote speaker, Professor Archana Shukla, Director IIM, and Mr. Alok Ranjan, former Chief Secretary, Uttar Pradesh. Now I request all the dignitaries to formally inaugurate this cell of University of Lucknow and to declare it open for the benefit of all concerns. So kindly share the inauguration PPT. Pragya. Pragya, please share. Please share the PPT, Pragya. Thank you very much, Professor Alok Kumar Rai, sir, Dr. Professor Rachna Shukla, madam, and Mr. Alok Ranjan, sir, for being here in this inaugural function. Now, I would like to say a few words about our eminent guest, although they require no introduction. Our keynote speaker, Professor Archana Shukla, has done post-graduation in psychology from Kanpur University, and I'm privileged to be her batchmate. She has completed her PhD from IIT Kanpur, and she joined as Associate Professor IIM Lucknow in 1997. Before that, she was professor in Center for Organization Development, Hyderabad, and Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. Now she is Director IIM Lucknow and an eminent academician. She has published many books, numerous papers and case studies in national and international journals. She has also presented a number of papers in international conferences of USA, Canada, Finland, and Poland. Her research interest is in the field of organizational behavior, specifically academic leadership. Through conscious observation, introspection, and active experimentation, she has evolved her own unique approach towards academic leadership. Once again, I extend a very warm welcome as a keynote speaker of this webinar on mental health care and support, perspective of NEP 2020. Now I would request our Vice Chancellor, sir, for the blessings of for this webinar.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. I hope I'm clearly audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Most respected Professor Archana Shukla, Honorable Director, Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, Mr. Alok Ranjan ji, former Chief Secretary, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and I've come to know that he is also a management professional, and very esteemed colleagues from the university and their friends. It's an honor. I have been listening about these two dignitaries since I've come to Lucknow and I've joined University of Lucknow, and this is my first opportunity to listen to them. So I'm so very eager to listen to them, what all they are going to say, and I would also take this platform to request them for a little contribution to the development of this university, which is a state university plagued with all the limitations that we all appreciate. So I would certainly require your active contribution with respect to the excellence in academics, and of course, administrative reforms that we are undertaking at this very institution. As we all know that my area is customer relationship management, and many of the in India people do take this as a taboo, but then many of the Western literature consider students to be the customer of educational institution. Now this customer is extremely peculiar, because in case of an educational institution, students are also the product as well as the customer. Now, this makes our job as an higher educational institution a little more complex, where we have to strike a balance between the different traits of the very nature of our customers. So we at University of Lucknow have been undertaking several initiatives. One thing I would certainly like the participants to be aware of, and that is the unique mentoring scheme that we have initiated at our university. One is the student OPD scheme, which is in itself a pioneering student mentoring program in the entire country in university system. Second was a tree scheme that was exclusively for a postgraduate student. Now this tree scheme is teaching, reaching, emboldening and evolving scheme. So, and third that we are starting, we are about to commence is a Samvardhan Yojana. So where a unique practice that we are going to start here is that our PhD student would be mentoring PG student, and our PG student would be mentoring our UG student in respective departments. So we have been trying to bring students at the core of all our academic and administrative initiatives. Having said this,
Please mute. आप लोग mute करिए, please.
having said this, I would also want each stakeholder of the institution to appreciate the role of two sets of counseling. One is career, second is psychological. Now, both these counselings have got very, very unique role to play with respect to the holistic development that even our new education policy aims at. So, at University of Lucknow, we have just begun with our counseling and guidance cell. Now, our counseling activity is divided into two parts. One is the psychological counseling, which because the age at which students join our institutions, they require variety of support, psychological support, and as an institution, we should be proactive rather than reactive with respect to these students' psychological needs. So that is why this center has been hosted by Department of Psychology, and our head Department of Psychology has been very, very generous in letting her teachers and the expertise initiate this. They have had a huge and wonderful initiatives that has already been welcomed by various stakeholders of society. they played extremely wonderful role with respect to the psychological stress and other psychological needs of society during this pandemic. So we have had our different, and another MOU that Department of Psychology entered into with UP Police, that was with respect to psychological counseling with UP Police Helpline 112. So considering the expertise and the willingness, which two both are equally important, we our Department of Psychology has started this initiative where the director of Counseling and Guidance Cell, Dr. Madhurima Pradhan, have been taking the entire university along, taking all the departments, because we have got different age group and different sections of these students in different departments and the kind of educational needs that these different departments have. So this career counseling, one is the psychological career counseling, second is the career counseling. So both the aspects are being looked after by this. I wish them a lot of luck, and I'm sure, I'm so very happy that they have initiated, and I'm extremely confident that they'll certainly make it to the finals. Another thing that I want to say is, I would certainly request from the bottom of my heart, that we have today in this program, they will certainly render their expertise also in furthering the goal with which this cell has been established. So thank you very much, Professor Archana Shukla Madam and Sri Alok Ranjan Saab, for being so generous to spare your time, and but we would certainly like your expertise also to be rendered to this cell. So thank you very, very much, and I'm so very eager to listen to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your kind words and encouragement, which will go a long way with while performing our duties for this counseling and guidance cell. Mr. Alok Ranjan sir has also joined, and due to certain technical glitch, he had to leave. And let me have a privilege to say a few words for sir. Mr. Alok Ranjan sir is a 1978 batch IAS officer from UP Cadre and an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad. He has been a chief secretary for the government of UP prior to this. He has held various portfolios, including infrastructure and industrial development commissioner and agriculture production commissioner for Uttar Pradesh. He is an established thought leader and a public speaker. He has delivered many talks at various educational and business forums. He is the author of 2 books and also writes articles for leading national publications. And we are extremely honored to have you here, sir, to chair the session on mental health care and support perspective of NEP 2020. And I will request you, sir, for your opening remarks and to kindly chair this session on mental health care and support perspective of NEP 2020. Mr. Alok Ranjan, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pradhan. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, because there was some technical problem and I was not getting the voice also, and I'm not able to communicate also. But so I've switched off from the laptop into my mobile now. So I hope I am visible and audible both. So thank you very much for your kind words, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this very interesting session. And as the Vice Chancellor just said, I heard the closing remarks of his statement. I missed out the earlier part about your career counseling as well as psychological counseling, both aspects which you're covering in this center, which has just been inaugurated in the Department of Psychology, Lucknow University. I think both are very, very relevant today. Psychological counseling as well as career counseling, and are areas which are very much ignored. And as far as our youth is concerned today, this is very, very vital for their mental health, the topic that is there for today. And in the perspective of new education policy, it says, so certainly I would like to say a few words of mine from my own experience on this. Let me say that a young boy or a girl, when she goes through her education system, and as my experience, is subjected to a lot of pressure. The main pressure is, of course, the academic pressure, the pressure to succeed. Nowadays, everybody is getting 100% or 99% or 98%. That becomes an additional kind of a pressure that somebody, even if he or she scores 90 or 92%, the parents also start feeling as if the child is lagged behind. The child also started feeling inferior, and that kind of creates an environment of pressure, which becomes very difficult to cope with it. And even before he starts his or her life, the child starts to think that she is a failure. I mean, that kind of a thing starts happening. And that is where it is so very important to give this psychological counseling and career counseling to tell how to cope with this kind of pressure, that all is not lost. Grades are not everything. There's so many other aspects of personality. There's so many other aspects of intelligence. On Howard Gardner said that intelligence is multiple. Intelligence is not only IQ, and grades is checking only IQ part of it. But there are 7 kinds of intelligences which Howard Gardner talks about. Intelligence for music, intelligence for spatial intelligence, intelligence for numbers. There's so many other kinds. You may be good at one thing, you may not be good at another thing. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're going to fall behind in life. You can succeed in life with the kind of intelligence which you have been born with or which you have developed over time. So that the child does need psychological counseling in today's environment, and more than the child, I think the parents need counseling. I've seen the way parents get out of the children to score marks, and they start getting depressed if the child scores slightly less. I mean, they create an atmosphere of stress for the child, and that is why you see cases where there's deviant behavior in children. People are taking to drugs. Young boys and girls are going to alcohol, are going to cigarette and tobacco, are going to a drug addiction in a big way. And this has to be prevented, because this is the right opposite of mental health. If they go for drug addiction, if they go for alcohol addiction, then it shows poor mental health, and it leads further to deterioration in their mental health. And that is why it's so very important. Career counseling. Nowhere is there any career counseling taking place in our society today. I found when I was Principal Secretary Technical Education, everybody wanted at that time his child to become an engineer. And even if a child is getting 40% in PCM, physics, chemistry, mathematics, the parents are insistent कि साहब इसको engineer ही बनाना है. And they used to come to me, कि साहब he has not succeeded in the entrance examination, but somehow can you speak to somebody? Can some management quota be used anywhere and he gets admission? And I used to tell them, look, your child is scoring 45% in PCM. He is just not cut out for engineering. He may be very good in law. Why don't you try that? He may be very good in history. Why don't you try that? He may be very good in journalism. Why don't you try that? But no, sir, वो तो engineering बनाएंगे. So this kind of thing, the parents and the children also, they don't know what to do. So career counseling, where there can be psychometric tests, where can there be aptitude tests, where you understand, and the child also understands what his or her aptitude is, what he is best suited for, and then he or she takes up that career. I'm sure they will succeed. I mean, you must have heard of the story, Mr. Motilal Nehru. They said that he failed thrice in his BSc examination. And when he took up law, he topped in the law examination and became one of the topmost lawyers of the country at that time. So this is just an example, but there are many such examples. A person has to go for something which he has an aptitude for. And this career counseling, where aptitude testing is involved, where he used to be told that so many careers are there. It is not that you only have to become a civil servant or an engineer or a doctor. There are thousands of careers available where you can make a mark for yourself today. So career counseling is so very important. I'm so happy this career counseling center has been started by the University of Lucknow. I'll just share a few examples with me because I like to tell stories. And I think the best way to communicate anything is to tell stories. Of course, Dr. Archana Shukla is the keynote speaker. She's expert today. We are here to listen to her. But I just take a few minutes more. I just share with you one experience that when I joined IIM Ahmedabad, I joined IIM Ahmedabad immediately after doing my BA Honours Economics from St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. As you all know, the IIMs and even the CAT and all the system is slightly biased towards quantitative methods, and even the training and the teaching in the IIMs is more focused or accented towards quantitative. So engineers have a head advantage slightly as compared to students like us who went from a discipline like economics, pure economics. I found that 60% of my batchmates in IIM were IITians, and those IITians were very good in mathematics, extremely good. And so they picked up mathematical subjects or things very fast. And we took a slightly longer time. And so it was, even I remember for me also when I went, it took some time to adjust that here I had an impression about myself that I was very good in academics. I was a brilliant student, everything. And I have come in here and I'm suddenly finding that in certain quantitative aptitude kind of subjects, their IITians, they're scoring much better than I'm scoring. They're grasping things much faster than I'm doing. And they led to a period of dissonance. I can tell you that. But slowly then I adapted to it and slowly worked harder on those areas, slowly improved, slowly adjusted to the reality also. But let me share with you. I recall in my batch in IIM Ahmedabad, there were as many as 3 students who absolutely lost their mental balance. To much of the extent that 2 had to be carried away. They had to leave the course midway. because they could not complete it. And you know what the main reason was? What they used to, the same reason was this only. All of them were toppers. You know, anybody who goes to IIM Ahmedabad has been a topper somewhere. And there are 120 at that time. And when I was in IIM Ahmedabad, there were 120 students in the batch. So somebody has to come rank 115, rank 118. Somebody has to be there, no? So these people were suddenly so shocked that all my life I have been a top student, and suddenly my rank is 115, my rank is 118. Suddenly I'm getting a C grade, a C minus grade. What is happening? They just could not cope with it. I just do recall that 3 students, exactly I remember the example, very bright boys, very good, but they completely ruined their life because they just could not cope with that kind of a pressure. And they started getting delusions. They started, talking to themselves, and all kind of deviant behavior started. So I just quoting that example to say that in life, it is not always possible to succeed, whether in academics or in life. In fact, you fail more often than you succeed. And the most important thing is handling both. Mental health is important to handle failure as well as to handle success. Mind you, success is also very difficult to handle. Let me tell you this. Success goes to the head, and success can drive you mad absolutely. And success can make you insensitive totally. And so that is very important to have the ability to handle both failure and success. And that is why this psychological counseling and this career counseling and the whole topic of mental health becomes very, 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 very important. Now, let me tell you something more. What academics is testing basically is IQ. My 38 years of experience in the civil service as an IAS officer, where I held various positions, I found ultimately what the most important quality you need to be successful is handling people, dealing with people, how you motivate people, how you manage people, how you respond to people, how you build a team. And that, let me tell you, is not a function of IQ. It is a function of EQ, emotional intelligence, the emotional quotient. It is so very important. How self-aware are you? Do you know about your emotions? Do you know what motivates you? Do you know what makes you angry? Do you know what makes you feel frustrated? You must understand yourself first. Then self-regulation. Can you regulate yourself? Can you regulate your emotions? Can you control your anger? Can you control your reactions? Can you control not getting depressed? Is that possible? Have you got self-regulation? Then empathy. Do you have empathy? Do you understand the feelings of the other person? So important in IAS, I found. We have to understand what the other person on the other side of the table is feeling. We deal with people throughout the day. If you don't understand what he's feeling, then how do we address his grievances? Empathy, and then motivation. What motivates myself and what motivates others? These are the quintessential aspects of emotional intelligence. And that needs to be developed in a big way. And that is an essential part of mental health. Moving forward, there is spiritual intelligence also. There has to be a spiritual quotient. Are we prone to greed? Are we prone to jealousy? Are we prone to pride? Are we prone to lust? Are we prone to just running after materialism? Or do we think that there is a higher purpose of life? Are we happy that if we have done our best, no matter what the result comes, we are willing to accept it? We are willing to go on in life because no one knows what better things are there in store for us. So that kind of spiritual attitude is also very important in life. So you have to develop the EQ, you have to develop the SQ, you have to develop the social quotient. Only then can you live a very proper life and be fully successful. And the new education policy, I'm happy, is talking about holistic development of an individual, to develop all aspects of an individual's personality. They're talking of developing sports, extracurricular activities. They're talking of developing vocational education, softer skills, and integrating it overall with the whole setup of the curriculum, and also reducing the academic burden, doing away with rote learning, making grades not so important, talking about reducing the school bag, and then problem solving approach, thinking approach, analytical approach. All these things are so very important. So I think the new education policy has talked about mental health in a way, and this is so very vital. Before I end, I must answer one thing. I'll try to answer that. Now, it's very easy to tell somebody, oh, you must have control over your mind. But let me tell you, perhaps it is the most difficult thing. I read a book called Higher Than Everest by Major S.P.S. Ahluwalia. He climbed the Everest and then he had a paralytic attack when he lost both his feet. A wonderful book if you read that. He said that climbing the Everest was far easier than coping with a situation when he lost both his feet to an accident and then responding to life and keeping his motivation high and keeping his positive attitude high. That is so important. But so it is easier said than done. So we have to train our mind. And that is where the psychological counseling and these centers become important. Continuous training of the mind is as essential as continuous training of the body. If you want to do physical exercises, if you want to become well physically, so you have to become well mentally, and the mind has to be trained. Mind has to be taken in a particular direction. And I would like to add that yoga and meditation people are talking of these days. I personally feel meditation is a great way by which you can control your mind. Unfortunately, with yoga, people somehow understand only asanas, but asana is only one part of the eightfold path that is yoga. It's Ashtanga Yoga, which is mainly focusing on meditation, pranayam, and meditation. And that is so vital. If you meditate, it's a process of training your mind. And if you train your mind to be calm, to be cool, to be collected, then to be peaceful, then you are able to respond in a similar manner to any kind of challenges that are thrown at you by life. And life, let me tell you, will throw challenges. It throws challenges every step. It puts obstacles at every corner. And so you have to be ready and prepared to handle that. And therefore, the youth must be prepared to cope with this kind of stresses in life. Today, you see celebrities, all major tennis players and cricket players have psychological coaches. They coach them. All film stars and all are having life coaches. They tell them how to face the vicissitudes of life. So therefore, right from the youth stage itself, it's important that this kind of training is given to the students. And I am so very happy, and I compliment Dr. Pradhan and a team in psychological department and the Honorable Vice Chancellor who has started this kind of a center, which by they're focusing on this very important aspect of mental health, which is so essential if we want to reap the demographic dividend, if we want to make our youth perform, if we want to make our youth to really be able to handle life and to succeed in a big way. With these words, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak and address you. I hope I have been able to say something of relevance to you all, and I'm sure we are all waiting to listen to the keynote speaker, Dr. Archana Shukla. And so I think I can request Dr. Archana Shukla now to take over, please. I hope I have not taken some of your time. Please go ahead and give your keynote address, Dr. Archana Shukla, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alokji. And thank you, Dr. Madhurima and Honorable Vice Chancellor. I think it is very difficult to speak after Alokji has spoken. You tell me, what have you not covered about the psychological and counseling area and the very, very pressing problems of society and the realistic assessment of yours that what needs to be built into the system in order to do a therapeutic in the mind, programming of the mind. So I really thank you for setting the tone and giving us the primer related to all these leads. And I will also touch upon some of these because that was my planning as well. And as you said, that there is no career counseling centers around. Many parents, I also feel, they come to me, they call me and they say that, okay, where I should send my child. I have so many options, so more than child, the parent is perplexed. Parent has a heart attack kind of situation where the child has to make a choice. So I always tell them, I said, rather than you understanding from me, why don't you connect me to your child? Let the child understand from me directly that what options are there before the children. Now, this is where I think most of the stress has been implanted. Most of the stress has come to children today, and this is affecting their mental well-being due to our own pressures which are coming from society and right? And also the implementation of the situation, because it is not the choices before. Choices have always been like this, right? But it is the dealing with that choice and the interpretation which you have of the choice. Now, I will quote another example from my own very family example, that teenager after completing 18, wanting to go to a graduation. What are the options left? He declared at home, I don't want to be a commerce student. I don't want to get into engineering by any way. I do not want to get into the, arts. Now, 3 options are ruled out. Now, what do we do? Now, the traditional choices, the conventional choices at home were that either he has to be in one of those or the competitive exam and no other choice. Now, the matter was referred to me that he doesn't want to study at all. This was the parents' response to me, right? That what are we going to do with this kid who has refused to study for, in the higher education on those streams? I said, okay, let me speak to the child. So I spoke to that person and I said, what do you want to do? If you don't want to do this, very nice, don't do it. Second one, you don't want. Third one, you don't want. All options you don't want. But is it something which you want? So he said, yes, I want to have a graduation in music. Now, music, that was a shock to everybody at home, that he will do a bachelor's in music. Now, what are the options? What are the career options? What will he do in life? How he will deal with the life challenges, right? And acceptance and perceptions and branding and everything came to everybody. And there was a hue and cry in the family again. So I again had to do the reframing, and I said, something which he is interested in, why don't we allow him to do that? It's a 3-year, 4-year experiment which a child wants to do for himself. Is he doing a crime by, taking an option and experimenting at that option? Let us all become a facilitator, right? Let us not become the vidhata to this child and say that I have already created a end goal in my mind, keeping you in mind and keeping your competencies in mind, and you have to go that way and there is no other way. And I think this sets a lot of pressure. So that child is out of the pressure, because then I started searching which are the places where this 4-year bachelor's happen in music, and we found something in Noida, something in Chennai, and that's the choice was made. Now he is already passed in 2nd year and he's into 3rd year, right? So what I was referring to and listening to Alok ji, that sometimes the pressure is passed on, not the actual pressure. And this pressure is not in the student mind, but student has taken it as a borrowed concept. And this borrowing happens from the in and around stakeholders, looking at them, hearing them out, and the benchmarks which have already been set up for them. And there is a conventional path, and we want those people to travel through that conventional path. I'm sorry, we have to change our minds. We have to see each child, each student. I'm calling child, but I mean that at whatever stage we are dealing with the students, each student has a uniqueness, and the school job is, or the college job is, to help that student in unleashing that potential which is already there with the student, right? Let us not give him a frozen choices, and schools by choice are frozen today. Schools have not retained their flexibility in offerings, right? We are not doing experiments enough. We are not doing innovations enough in order to provide that kind of flexibility which today's student is looking forward to. Now, what to talk about career guidance? I have to deal with teachers. Now, a happy teacher, a healthy teacher, a teacher who is already resolved her dilemmas can do betterment of the students and can contribute to the betterment of the teacher. I have found that now this mental health problem, as you call it, I will not call it mental health, I will say mental well-being. And this mental well-being has to be, thought through in an entire ecosystem. First, we need to deal with the teachers who need to actually contribute to this purpose. Purpose is very genuine, but how do we deal with the mental health of the teacher? Teacher today is so burdened. Teacher today, again, is to grapple with newer and newer realities and situations. And if you look at this COVID period, you must have experienced yourself that how many of you had to redefine, how many of you had to relearn. Some of your, your own adjustment was so difficult in this trying and testing time, right? And we are talking about students, right? So student is very important aspect. We will talk about student, and much has been talked about the student aspect. I will refer to the teachers, that can we also take care of the teachers' mental health? Can we create a positive, supportive system where the teacher gets the help, timely help, and the hand holding? Can we create that kind of a collaborative networks of teacher where the teachers can actually draw upon each other's learning and keep on experimenting with the newer and newer ideas? Because we need to deal with this human being. She is not a perfect model in front of us of delivering all these ideal things which we are expecting from a teacher. Now, this teacher is looking forward to just an ordinary human being, and they have their own limitations, they have their own pressures, and they have their own performance criteria, and a lot of issues teachers are going through. Because I get a lot of requests from personally from people that I want to do this, I want to do that, can you help me out? So I was thinking that if first we need to first talk about the teacher's mental health as well. We are talking about student mental health all the time, right? But we have neglected this aspect, which is very important aspect, that how a teacher feels, right? How a teacher will deliver, how the complexity the teacher is dealing with. What are the kinds of challenges a teacher is dealing with today? If you look at the new education policy, you're talking about the holistic development of the child. You're talking about the multifaceted development of the child. Very true. But what is the curriculum and how the curriculum has been designed, right? If somebody has to actually make the changes, it is not the policy which will be able to implement the changes. It is the teacher. Teacher is the basic unit of change implementer. Teacher is the change catalyst. And therefore, I think today I will hammer on the importance of the teacher, that we need to strengthen the morale of the teacher. We need to strengthen the well-being of the teacher. We need to look at teacher from a very, very, like empathetic point of view, and providing all kinds of support, which is never built in. Teachers also need to relearn. Teachers also need to unlearn. Teacher needs reskilling, upskilling, isn't it? But in our education system, when was the last time when the teacher did the upskilling? Yeah. What are the new things which are getting added? The syllabus does not allow us too much flexibility. Second, even if we realize that something new is happening, we do not have a flexibility to change on our own, right? There is a lot of network which is around us, stopping us, and there is a comfort zone as well of the individual, that why should I venture into something new? Because this is throwing to a new challenge to all of us to adapt to this new challenge, and also augment some new competencies in all of us in order to deliver. Today, the much more NEP is now talking about multi-pronged strategy, multi-pronged pedagogy in the class. Now, how will that happen? Multi-pronged strategy. Mostly our classes are designed one way, right? Are we going to continue with this one way, where the student sitting in front of us, we do not know that who is making sense out of it and who is not making sense out of it, who is interested, who is not interested, and then you take a end-term exam and you pass the student that your purpose is solved. Can we do assurance of learning in a little different manner? Can we really chalk out the purpose of the course right in the beginning and attract the student with that purpose rather than the syllabus, right? So with a whole lot of new methodologies, new pedagogies have to be experimented. Much has been talked about that social emotional aspect of the student. Now, social emotional aspect learning has to be integrated in the classroom, right? How do we do that? Because now we are talking about multidisciplinary nature of the schooling system, college system. Now, in that, you realize that one class of student, only one class of methodology. And we have already related it in that manner, that this can be taught only in this fashion. Now, this has to be broken. Now, all these new things, new experiments, new kind of vision, a teacher and the school has to create. And then comes the role of that, okay, how do we treat this entity which we are calling student in that manner, rather than talking about that we need a lot of counseling, lot of, not only career counseling, but mental counseling to adjustment, to do the adjustment to the school. Now, why these kind of situations are coming in front of us? The whole purpose of education was to create a human being who is well adjusted, right? The whole purpose of the education was to make him equipped to deal with his own problems, to solve his own problems, do his own decision making, do his own adjustment. If the child is not converting into that, then I'm sorry that there is some problem somewhere in our educational system and the whole schooling system, right? When we say school, because there is a difference, because I am still holding a school. I call it business school, right? So my lingo may go more into school rather than calling it a college or university or anything. I also studied clinical psychology at some stage in my bachelor's, and in my master's as well. And I wanted to be a clinical psychologist somewhere, sitting in NIMHANS or WIMHANS and doing some counseling, and that was very close to my heart, right? And then I landed up in IIT Kanpur, and I had no choice but to convert myself into a management teacher, right? I'm sitting here as a management teacher. But whenever I get time, I definitely get back to those individual counseling sessions, personal counseling, right? I really enjoy that. And this is perhaps my plan that I will link up with, you have a counseling cell. We have a counseling cell here in IIM Lucknow as well. Now the question is that the typical counseling cells, are they making sense, right? We have so much stigmatized them that nobody wants to approach them. 32 years ago or 33 years ago, when I was in IIT Kanpur doing my PhD, there used to be a counseling cell. We used to be the student volunteers into it, along with the teachers, mentors. But it was so much, preventing people to directly approach the cell because there is a stigma attached. So and so sought help, right? And you sought help for what? That was all the more, you're not supposed to tell anyone. So we need to create normal sense of mental health. We need to create more kind of propagation and awareness in the society wherever we go, whenever we get time, that this is very, very normal thing to have. If you are depressed, it is normal, right? Most of the people around this depressed person makes him more depressed. I have seen that because you tell them something abnormal happened to you. You shouldn't be depressed. No, it's perfectly right. You can be depressed. You can be stressed at times. Take it as given, take it as normal, and definitely seek out for help and reach out for helping others. But then, first of all, acceptance, that accept them on par. The moment you have a divide that there are children who are mentally strong and there are children who need help, we have already created a divide there. And when we create this divide, students do not want to belong to this set or that set. So a lot of time we have seen that if you look at IIT Kanpur counseling cell today, and I looked at that, it has grown multifold. It has become more digital, more accessible to students at their command, at their time, at their wish, and also multiple kinds of helps are provided to a student. So I think more peer-to-peer has to be emphasized, more rather than a dedicated counseling cell doing its job. Let us train the students who can come forward, volunteer for this kind of service, and they will get an opportunity to create this kind of awareness with that acceptance in mind, which you have already created for them. And I think I look forward to that kind of society. I would look forward to that kind of colleges, that kind of class where everybody can go together. So that's what we can say, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, and we talk about all those philosophies. That pays off, because we need to now walk the talk. Enough we have known. All these things are remaining in our cognitive map, but they have not translated into action. Still, there is a lot of stigma in society. If somebody is autistic, right, you may be having somebody in your relations or anywhere that an autistic child has to go to a college, right? Are we prepared for that autistic child to provide that supportive environment where he can get the equal right to education? I'm sorry, we have not, right? Look at how difficult it is for the parents to make a choice that where and how do we send and to our kids. There are schools who are not providing an attendant along with the kids, because these kids need to specially bring attendants, and attendants are not allowed in the classroom, right? Now that itself is a binding factor. You talk about career counseling, but you first make this environment which is accepting environment, and which is looking forward to environment, which is giving equal access to everybody. And then we reach out, then it is inclusive policy, and then it is inclusive reach, and every student will get an equal opportunity to grow and unfold his or her own potential. So this, I think, comes to me as a very, very significant point. And I feel that psychology is a must subject. And I realize when I deal with managers, I teach them in training. One thing which I realize, that people have not known the basics. We are talking about life skills. Some of these things are natural, right? It should be in the curriculum designed in some manner where the moment you have graduated or you have done the postgraduate, you are already equipped to handle some of these issues which come in front of you. Now, all the managers, I feel, they should be taught psychology, right? All the engineers should be taught psychology. All the doctors should be taught psychology, because without this, you cannot learn the entire sphere which we are talking about, life skills, you will be highly specialized person, and this highly specialized person will be with handicap. Because even the doctor today, right, much of the doctor, if doctor takes your hand, in the hand and says, oh, how are you feeling? I can imagine, please tell me. But today what happens? You go to a clinic, doctor is not giving even 2 minutes to you to describe the disease. He is not even looking at you and maintaining the eye contact while writing the prescription. And when you come out of this clinic, you have a lot of suspicion in your mind. Should I believe this guy who has not even listened to me properly, right? So they do not know because they are so busy that 2 minutes and then 2 minutes, right? This is how you need to handle your patients. So every profession, I think, requires this psychology. I'm not calling it a counseling per se, but I feel psychology as a foundation course. And with the current format of NEP, it is very much possible. And that is being emphasized, that do not bind people into tunnels, and you open some kind of, options for everybody, and they can master those at their own choice. And some of those life skills, social skills, which Alokji touched upon, cannot be taught by sitting in one classroom and listening to a teacher. I'm sorry, you have to engage them. You have to engage them in community service. He's talking about empathy. If somebody has never gone out and ventured out of your home, which is so comforting to you, and the classroom, which is so comforting to you, and then you talk about empathy, then you talk about social sensitivity. Do you know how people live? Definitely, we need to send people to villages. At IIM Lucknow, we have adopted 5 villages under the Unnat Bharat scheme. And this is with the purpose that these 5 villages, at least, students should take the projects in such a manner where they should be in a position to contribute to the betterment of this village. And maybe 3 years time, we shall be in a position to say that we have developed 5 villages as a model villages in IIM Lucknow, in Lucknow or in UP. Because we never look at society. We never emphasize towards society. We are so selfish. And the curriculum also is designed in such a manner that a student thinks, I just come into term 1, term 2, term 3. My entire thing is, at the end of the ROI is my job, right? So are we recruitment agencies? We are not recruitment agencies. We have emphasized in NEP as employability. Very good. Employability, I am very much for employability, but we will teach employable skills. Yeah. We may not give them employability sitting in the college, but we will make them employable by giving them employable skills. Now, those skills have to be integrated, because much we should not think about the, as a system that student, when he is feeling getting into this zone, danger zone, where he has to seek a help, then only this career guidance and the counseling will come to the savior of the student. No, we should make them capable. We should make them independent. We should make them courageous to deal with the, as Alokji said, failures and success both. We need to be able to give them a sense of what is purpose, what is the purpose of life, right? What do you want to achieve? Very soon you will see the life is equated with achievements. And the moment we have done this equation, that life is equal to achievement, you are like a robot, you are like a machine, and you keep on achieving in order to feel that you are living, right? There is no compulsion. I don't want to get into this achievement business, but I want to get into the fulfillment business. What excites me? What makes me happy? What I would want to do with enjoyment, right? Students have to be given these kinds of perspective as well, right? Many often students do not realize that what is success. They think getting marks is success. Look at Delhi University. All parents must have forced their kids to study very hard. All of them studied very hard. And the first list comes out of Delhi University and they say cutoff is 100. Where will you go now? What is the fault of this child who has gotten 99? This is our education system. We are creating robots. We are creating formatted individuals. We have stopped creating creative individuals. Out of box thinking, that is far, far away. And I think today is the time all the academicians are listening to me. And I am also part and parcel of where you are. And we have started questioning ourselves that what are we doing? we can't continue to do like this. We need to question ourselves. We need to get out of our comfort zone in order to introduce something meaningful. And that meaning will not be my meaning and your meaning. That meaning is towards the larger purpose. Either it helps in nation building or it helps in society building, right? So we have to take the anchors from outside. And for years together, education system has not evolved itself to the pace of the change outside. Outside changes have been very, very fast and all the time changing, but very dynamic. But the education system has not become that dynamic. So therefore, the parity factor is missing there. So we need to catch up with that speed of adaptation to the changes outside. And I would Alok ji touched upon that, and I also want to say that in our curriculum, we must add the holistic sense of self and create that self-awareness, because that awareness factor, right from the KG and LKG class to your master's classes, unless you are a student of psychology, which day you are analyzing self, which day self was a matter of discussion. Self was never a matter of discussion in our life. Self only. So self is so integral to our development, right? That understanding, we have to take this matter some way, that how and who's self, right? Whether you talk about intelligence, whether you talk about emotional intelligence, you talk about spiritual intelligence, but who's the embodiment of all this? It's the self. So self has to be defined somewhere. So make it a matter of discussion, right? Most of the people are developing a personality without knowing about it. Personality gets developed as a default action in a reactive way, because we react to the stimulus which is in and around us. Right from the beginning, we are getting feedback from our parents, from our elders, from teachers, right? We depend on that feedback, and by default we are developing certain things in ourselves, which is not a very, very right way to develop, because we are not giving that experimentation choice to the student to develop personality and understand what is right and what is wrong. We are also not creating any experiential thing for the student, right? It becomes all or none. Either I am having this or I'm not having this, right? So we haven't spent adequate energy in this subject itself, because we talk about mental health. It's the individual who feels uncomfortable at the mental level, right? It's not about the degree, it's not about the employment, it's not about the bosses, it's not about the wife, it's not about the kids, it is you. Now that you is so sacrosanct that you need to spend time in analyzing the content of you, right? And this is where I think read more on your own. I will talk about the Panch Koshas, which I am sold to, and the entire self concept today when I teach in classes, in my training classes, in my other classes, I definitely integrate this Eastern view of personality in my classes, and draw the parity with our traditional frameworks, because there is no question of putting them in contrast to each other, right? They complement each other. So I bring in that complementarity between the two frameworks. And this is where I say most of us are dealing with the self at only the physical level, and we try and groom ourselves, we try and feed ourselves, right? All that. So this is known as the Annamaya Kosha. So Annamaya Kosha is the awareness which everybody carries all the time. Now this is a very minuscule part of it, that you carry your body, and body is obviously, you can see the body, and therefore much more believing in that body, that this is how my body functions, this is how I eat, this is how I very obvious things. So this is your body is trillions of cells in your body. You need to feed them. They breathe like you, and they rejuvenate like you. And so is the body. It completes its cycle. So if you get lost into defining yourself equal to this level, then look at, you haven't explored other levels at all. So the school is the one who should integrate all 5 levels, right? College is the one who should integrate all the 5 levels in their daily schedule, some way or the other. Now, the second layer of the self, they say, is the Pranamaya Kosha. And what is Pranamaya Kosha? Pranamaya Kosha is the energy level, that energy which drives you. We all end up telling, isme energy nahi hai, isme passion nahi hai, right? But what gives you energy, what rejuvenates your energy, what energizes you, we do not do anything to that effect during our day, and not only in the day, but entire life, right? So that a pranamaya kosha is important source of energy. So we need to understand that how do we rejuvenate our pranas. The difference between a living body and the dead body is only the pranas. They say unka pran chale gaye, isn't it? Rest all is the same, anatomical structure remains the same, but it is the prana which was actually giving the power to function is eliminated from the body, right? And so happens to the individuals also. So we need to rejuvenate, and that's when pranayam, that's when your lot of games, your activity, you need to energize yourself, and that has to be reinforced in the curriculum as well. And the third layer, they say, is the manomaya kosha, which is mind. So the mind, as you said very rightly, that you can't control your mind if you want to and whenever you want to. It is again a practice. We need to understand that in manomaya kosha, how many thoughts we keep creating. Much of the disease, much of the mental illness, or mental well-being, absence of mental well-being happens to be because of your thoughts only. It's the cognition which gives you all these beliefs, and the way you believe, you start believing and you start acting accordingly, isn't it? And nobody can change that. If you think I'm not good for this job, then I'm not good for this job. Now you created a thought which has created a belief, and then you reinforce that belief, and the others also give you the same feedback. Teachers also evaluated you lesser in the class. Now this becomes a pakka belief, and you say I am good for not this job, right? You don't even try that job. So manomaya kosha is how do you control your thoughts, how do you alter your thoughts, how do you redefine your thoughts, how do you reframe your thoughts. Now all that also has to be discussed some stage, and this by tradition they say meditation is the route, or have a focused discussion on certain things, do something to stabilize your mind for a few seconds. Like if you play table tennis, if you play 15 minutes, 20 minutes at table tennis, what happens? Your mind doesn't go here and there. You're totally with the ball, right? And you're not fixing your attention here and there. So find some activity which gives you that concentration on fewer elements without being, focusing attention on something else. So that's the third layer. And the fourth layer, they say, you need to get to that level, and that also has to be integrated if you want to have the holistic understanding of yourself, is the Vigyanmaya Kosha. And Vigyan is the knowledge, is the wisdom. And today what happens in schools and colleges, I'm sorry again to say, use this word, that we are dumping knowledge. Yeah, we are dumping, right? We have prepared something and we want you to listen to that, right? And we will also test you on that. So this is dumping. We only feed the student, we only burden the student with information which they don't want. So we haven't made the classes excited enough, and we have not created that a sense of excitement in the class where a student start creating his own or her own model based on what you are telling them, or give them opportunity to create and recreate. So that has stopped, and therefore this level, lot of things are there in the minds of people which are interfering at the mind level, and therefore it shows up on the body level, right? So this is the kind of focus. And the last layer, they say that from wisdom, now the longing for what more can go away, and you can actually be satisfied, contented, and that's the bliss. That's Anandamaya Kosha. So you're not searching all the time for some achievement to be happy. You will be happy doing things in the right way and what you are supposed to do, because you are clear about the purpose, you are clear about the goal, and you know why you did this and why you did not do the other things. Now that has to be integrated as a daily schedule, and that has to be the pattern of thinking. And if the schools can add this, and schools can help the kids in some manner or the other to integrate all the 5 layers of the self, I think that will be a big achievement. And then the student doesn't need you day to day. Student is having that much of power and energy to deal with their dilemmas on their own, right? They are doing it. See, how many of us are telling them in digital world how to deal with digital world? None of us are competent, and nobody comes to us, isn't it? All their digital problems, they solve themselves. Look at their power of learning. They are very, very superior learning now. You know, their genes have been mutated enough to that cycle where they have evolved, and they don't need too much of a generic hand holding and guidance. They are smarter lot. We need to deal with them very, very smartly and very, very differently. So this is what I think I have to end with. And thank you very much. And it was pleasure talking to all of you. This is not a simple problem. In COVID period, I think we need to get back to the we had the counselors coming to campus, and then we had to graduate to digital mode. And now each student has access to that platform and at their own level, because COVID has taught us that how critical was the mental well-being to refer to if you wanted classes online, if you wanted the preparedness from the students to be taught online, if you wanted the teachers to be prepared to teach online, isn't it? All of it was not a simple transition for all of you as well, I think. And it has been a very testing time for all the educational systems, because during Corona, everything was in lockdown. Only the education systems were the front warriors and dealing with this challenge day in and day out. And we came out very strongly out of these last 5 months and 6 months. And it has given us again a very, very strong conviction to believe that whatever is the intent of the NEP policy, we shall be in a position to integrate it in better manner and serve the purpose right. So thank you very much. If you have
Thank you very much, Dr. Professor Archana Shukla, for an absolutely wonderful exposition on the subject. And it's great to hear an expert to talk. I think you have covered every aspect of the topic, and I'm sure all the people participating in the webinar have gained a lot from what you have said. I don't know whether we have time for questions, Dr. Madhurima Pradhan, or shall we go over to the closing vote of thanks? Is there some time for 1 or 2 questions, or do we have vote of thanks now?
If the participant want to ask any question, they may ask. And I should, there will be a formal vote of thanks, but on my personal behalf, I would like to thank Madam, because she is from psychology background, both of us from psychology background, and the thoughts are very much similar. My research work is also in the field of spirituality. And recently, I'm very happy to say that we are going to establish a happy thinking laboratory in University of Lucknow very shortly. And in this laboratory, we'll do research work on these Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, which you discussed. And it is very much close to my heart, and it is very much, in an Indian way of healing and psychotherapies which are there, because we are very much find that the therapies or the psychological knowledge which we teach in the classrooms is Western implanted. So sometimes when we teach, we just find that the sense of self, which is there in the Western psychology, is very much different from the sense of self, which we have in Indian psychology. So there is a time to make an amalgamation of these two things. And I'm very confident that they can complement each other very well. So I'm very happy that you elaborated all these points and made our mind, the clouds in our mind, very clear that what we have to do in this counseling and placement cell. And I would like to take your guidance from time to time for flourishing or nourishing this cells, ma'am. Thank you so much. So if there is any question, the participants may ask. I think everything is so explanatory that there is no questions. No, I would like to invite Dr. Archana Shukla from Psychology Department, University of Lucknow, to extend vote of thanks here in this platform. So Dr. Archana Shukla, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm very much there. Good afternoon, everyone. The session was so mesmerizing that I really forgot to, switch on my video and audio. Thank you so much, speakers. You were awesome, both of you, and especially ma'am. As ma'am has been saying, we are from psychology, and I teach this paper of personality in MA, which basically has this course content in terms of Panchkosh and Sthit Prag and Ayurveda and Ashram Vyavastha. So I could really hit upon what you were saying, and it was very enlightening. So now moving on to the formal vote of thanks, that on behalf of the Counseling and Guidance Cell and Psychology Department and University of Lucknow, I want to thank all the speakers who I assume are extremely busy, but despite their busy schedule, they could take out time. And I could hear that none of them seemed in a hurry. So thank you so much. And before that, I would also like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. He is a person of extreme, what should I say, extreme vibrations, and he makes this sure that these vibrations are, passed on to our to the faculty of the of all the faculty of our university. Lastly, I would like to thank Professor Madhurima Pradhan, ma'am. She has taken this lead for this counseling and guidance cell, and I think this will really, it was very much needed in our university, and I think in every educational institute. But I think our university will be able to do something more, much ahead of the institutions which are presently now. In terms of faculty also, I would like to thank Professor P.C. Mishra sir, Professor Pallavi Bhatnagar ma'am, Dr. Mani Srivastav, Dr. Megha Singh, and two members, sorry, I left out in terms of the guidance cell, that is Dr. Vaishali Gupta, Dr. Lalit Kumar Singh, and all the esteemed faculty which I can see are very much there in this program. Most important people which I want to thank, of course, are the students. Pragya is there. She has really been a very boon to this program in terms of the technical expertise which she has given. Surbhi Srivastav, Samya Baghel, Kirti Madnani, Garima, Jiten, Malvika, and all those people who led this program a total success. And if I have left out any name, I want to apologize for this. And once again, thank you to all the speakers and to Professor Madhurima Pradhan ma'am for making this program a great success. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashna, for extending vote of thanks, and thank you, Ashna ma'am, Alok Ranjan sir, for moderating the session so well. And we were just lost in the session. We just forgot what's the time. And had it been a physical meeting, so we would have interacted more and more. And with this hope that we will keep on meeting and interacting and seeking guidance from both of you for our counseling and guidance cell. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. And thank you everyone for joining this webinar, and all the participants, students who joined this webinar. And the second session of this webinar will be starting from 3 p.m. when we'll be having the speakers from Heartfulness Center. So all of you are invited to join again at 3 p.m.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ritu.
Thank you, ma'am.
Everyone, thank you, Gauri. Thank you, sir.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद
सर ज्वाइन करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सबकी बहुत सपोर्ट और वो चाहिए मुझे आगे के लिए।
थैंक यू मधुरिमा मैम।
थैंक यू। मे आई नो फ्रॉम वेयर? शिवम कुमार अवस्थी, आप प्लीज।
मैं शिवम कुमार अवस्थी मैम, मैंने क्रिश्चियन डिग्री कॉलेज से बीएससी करा है।
अच्छा अच्छा, ओके। So thanks for joining, and at 3 p.m. we'll meet again. Thank you. Thank you, Vishali, everyone. Pragya, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, bye.